excited to introduce Mallet drums, the first official release from Somerville Sounds. Last year I released soft drums under my name, then followed that up with post felts, and now both of those have migrated over to Somerville Sounds. When you go to Native Access and Update, you'll see the new graphics in the library window of Contact. The response to soft drums in particular blew me away, and I knew pretty early on that I wanted to follow it up with another library, but this time with mallets instead of brushes. I'll do a more thorough walkthrough later in this video. I'll put timestamps in the description so you can jump to it. There'll also be something similar over on the Somerville Sounds YouTube page, which you need to subscribe to. I love singer-songwriter music, acoustic, folk music. It's very, not necessarily super quiet, but not super loud. But I felt like with soft drums and now with mallet drums, I'm filling in this area that fits my style and the kind of music that I like to make, and I know that I'm not alone. Soft drums and now mallet drums, they kind of fit in the middle, which is where I think a lot of my music dynamically fits. If I want to play some super detailed, intricate part, I want that to be heard, and I can't have drums overpowering my delicate guitar sound. That's just one use case. These can do quite a bit more. But I do think there is a void in the market, and we're trying to fill it. Now, soft drums was recorded right across the hall, but we took the show on the road for mallet drums. All right, I'm here at MediaTek, and that's Joel talking. Don't look at yourself. Don't look at yourself.
Don't look at myself?
Look right there.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna look right there.
So I've mentioned on the channel a dozen or so times that I used to teach. I taught a production class in this room, and then I roped Wes into doing it, and now he's running the place. He says thank you. I think he means it.
Thank you. I mean it.
Okay. The plan is to follow up soft drums with, what do we want to call it?
I don't know.
We're going to hit the drums with mallets instead of brushes, because that feels like a good companion, something of this sort.
This is my 1968 Ludwig. 16 by 16, 3-ply, maple, poplar maple. This is tuned really low right now, and it's kind of got that timpani sort of, a little bit of a rattle, kind of. Which is really a neat sound. Very Ringo Starr-ish, actually, a la Day in the Life.
So this is the beginning of the process where I have an idea and a sound, and Joe has an idea and a sound, and they're usually not the same. And I play him something that I love that maybe even moves me emotionally, and he's like, don't really care for that. So we fight it out, and then we come up with something that's pretty awesome. Hopefully we can create something that meets multiple uses while still being very focused. For those of us who are trying to track live things in our home studios, we want to make music that's kind of true to that space that we're in, and sometimes we adapt to that, and we end up here instead of up here. And my vision for these sounds is it kind of accentuates and kind of is a backdrop, a scaffolding to that type of medium sound until you compress it and run it through distortion, and it's gnarly. When you're in this space compared to the room we recorded soft drums, what do you notice that changes your perception of the sound?
I have a lot more sense of the immediate, like because of just the size of the space. The room is controlled in spite of its size. It's very controlled, so it's not overwhelming. And having walls further away and walls that are a little bit less interactive than the space where we did the other library, it feels more immediate and more cozy. So I feel like the dry sounds or the up close sounds will be more intimate, but I think the roomier sounds will definitely be more roomy. I think it'll just be more of both. It'll be drier, and then it'll also be roomier. I think a space like this would be ideal for having a lot of control over the sense of proximity that you have to the instrument. So I think this would be an ideal room. There's no way I make this library or soft drums for sure without Joel. He's a master recording engineer. Half the preamps and microphones we used were built by Joel. Inside the kick is a Shure Beta 52. And outside the kick, a Neumann FET 47, revered for outside kick drum use. Snare drum, 57's top and bottom. 57 is the standard snare drum microphone of the universe. The hi-hat mic, that's a 451. Little small diaphragm AKG pencil mic from like the 70s. Overheads are U47 clones that I made for you. And then for toms, Sennheiser 421s. Again, a fairly typical, a good choice for toms. Room mics, Coles 4038s, aimed between the snare and the bass drum. And then I have a space pair of room condenser mics, which are my kind of custom made. solid state condenser mics. So they're going to get the wider angle, and the ribbons will get a little bit more of a tighter, more natural focus on the drum kit.
He also knows everything there is to know about drums and can play them quite well.
I've got my 26 inches in diameter. It's off the hook. It's out of control. I actually have a 28 now. Do you see my 28?
No. So this became my favorite on soft drums. It doesn't sound soft. Soft drums, not small drums, is what I mean.
Right. See, it's just too much. I got to raise this up. The goal is big, and the internal mic's probably going to be a little floppy, but I'm thinking of sticking the woofer in front of it. Magnify that boom.
Magnify that boom.
Magnify that boom.
The front page, we wanted to keep it as minimal as possible, but still let you switch between the drums so that you can open it up and get started. Kick drums, Lucy, pure, and natural. The snare, ringer, bright, and rumble. Almost sounds like a tom. We put the snare on C and D in case you want to play quickly like that. But we also have the snares turned off on C sharp and D sharp. We've got these split out on multiple octaves. If you want to play real fast. Sometimes I like playing a split octave approach. Not always, but sometimes. If you want to play flams on the toms and the snares, it's easy to do it like this. So we got kick, snare, then we have tom 1, tom 2, and tom 3. This is our rich toms. Deep and lively. Hi-hat, closed. Semi-open, open. Raising the foot up and down. Which is something I do a lot with these drums, is that I just kind of have this pulse going like I would with my left foot, because my hands are often, there's not a hand left to play the hi-hat, so the foot is often the part of the performance that makes it sound realistic. Then we have kind of slamming the foot down, then the ride crashes. It lends itself to a washier, more open sound. By the way, how cool are the toms? Way to go, Hunter. Advanced page. My suggestion is that you hop through the included snapshots first. Joel named that one Ratatouille. I don't really know why, but this one's roomy. Say you don't like the room, you can turn it off. You turn it off and you move it, it turns back on. The biggest difference between mallet drums and soft drums is the room that we recorded it in. I love the sound of our little tight space. I think soft drums was perfect in there. I love the way the more resonant tones fill up the space. If the mix section is global, then this section down here is where you can get in and make fine-tune changes. So with the kick drum, you have in and out. These two mics, sometimes there's only one, they feed into the close bus. So the out. So you can mix and match those. And you can mute them as well. The overhead mic. So maybe there's a situation where you don't want the kick in the overhead, but you want the room mics. Well, you can pan. But if you do everything that you want to do, but the gain is still not quite there, notice when I hit different keys, this section changes to match. If you turn off auto, it does not change. We have a reverb send because we have a reverb return. You can turn it all the way up. We have a multi-out option, but I found with soft drums that I do most of my mixing inside. If you're a high-end user and you want to separate out every instrument so that someone else can mix it or you can mix it the way that you want, well, then the multi-out is great. But for most of my use cases, I found that I like to do the mixing inside the box. Obviously, that's a little loud. So if you want to keep it in the box and work quick, you have this option. Same thing with compressor. You can be subtle, or you can go crazy. Again, some of you are going to want to use your own compressors individually on each track. If you just need to keep things in check or you're going for a vibe, it's great. And these drum selector controls are redundant to the front page. We also have the multi-out in KI, which looks just the same, except here you can send the close mics out to individual channels in contacts. Then you can send the overhead mixes and the room mixes out to their own channels as well. It's the closest we can get to how it was recorded. Room mics capturing everything, overheads capturing everything, and then the individual kick, snare, and tom hi-hat mics. The loops. If you just need something to get you inspired, to get you going, these loops are fantastic. Notice there are 8 different tempos. Let me switch the tempo to 90 beats per minute. Quick tip, you've got to lock these to the grid when you record them. So I will usually mess around until I find patterns that I like. Maybe hit a fill up here. If you go up 2 octaves, we have a series of one-shots. That way you can put a bow on your drum track. Go pick it up at somervillesounds.com, and we'll be back with more libraries in the very near future. Talk soon.